Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new live episode of He Said, He Said, He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective, because one perspective is just not enough. I'm your host, Alvin King, and welcome to our live show tonight. I am so glad that you all are here. I don't know about you, but I'm smelling spring, okay? I think there's a couple of snow pockets on my street, and hopefully by tomorrow, they will all go away. I'm just sick of seeing snow. All right, but welcome to our show tonight. Happy Black History Month, everybody. We're into, I think, our third week of Black History Month, and it has truly been exciting. I think for our show, I have just been so happy with our guests and just how we are celebrating Black history. And we did have something that happened this week that circles around Black history. Tonight, we take a quiet moment to honor the life of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. For many of us, he wasn't just a national figure. He was a steady presence, a voice we grew up hearing, a reminder that faith and activism could walk hand in hand. He stood on the front lines of the civil rights movement, and he never really left the fight, ladies and gentlemen. Through his Rainbow Push Coalition, through presidential campaigns, through marches and negotiations, he kept insisting that America be better, more just, more inclusive, and in many cases, more honest. Reverend Jesse Jackson believed ordinary people deserve dignity. He believed our votes, our voices matter. And now, as we reflect on the passing, maybe the most fitting tribute is this: to keep showing up, to keep speaking up, to keep pushing forward. Reverend Jesse Jackson, rest well, my brother, and thank you for the courage that you lent to this nation. That was he had been ill for a while, but still the impact of his death it hit me kind of hard. I want to move on to something and take a moment with you all to talk about something that started out beautifully and honestly, one of the most heartfelt things that I had seen on social media over the Valentine's Day weekend. I want to talk about American Idol winner Fantasia Barrino. On Valentine's Day, at one of her concerts, Fantasia stood on the stage, and while she was singing, her husband, Kendall Taylor, surprised her with an 11-carat ring. 1 carat for every year that they've been together. It was a beautiful moment if you haven't seen it, and it felt so genuine, and it felt like really earned. And I didn't get the feeling that there was any, pretension in anything that they were doing. But then something went left. Fantasia's father, Joseph Barrino, took to social media in a public rant, questioning motives, questioning money, and the process, diminishing what should have remained a private family matter. And that's something that people are using Facebook or social media all too wrong about, to air your laundry. But listen, I don't pretend to know what happened behind the closed doors. None of us do. But what I do know is that when you air out, your daughter publicly, especially one who has fought her way back from financial hardships, trauma, and some very public struggles, it feels a little disheartening for me. And her husband, Kendall, spoke out on social media this week. Some say that it was pretty lengthy, but, for somebody like him who says that he's behind the scenes, and he just wanted to get it out, he used the moment to stand up for his wife, because he said he saw his queen's crown tilting and wanted to protect her. And for me, that's what partnership looks like. And the prayer that I have is simple in all of this for that family, that this family finds peace, that they the parent especially, who has a public figure as a daughter, give her a call, choose conversation over going on the camera and less, drama, because social media should never be the battleground for family. And I just, wanted to share that. I didn't want to give you too much of the story. You guys know about it, but my concern is simple. Talk. Don't go on social media airing your dirty laundry. It's just not a good way to have communication. And before I bring on, the guys, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you about our episode tonight. In the art of it, we are talking about voice to vision, how an artist evolves from performer to creative architect. Larry Boggs Jr. is a vocalist, costume designer, and an arts leader serving as the incoming costume director of the Harlem Collective. His career spans opera, musical theater, design, and creative direction, making him a dynamic force in contemporary performing arts. He's here with us tonight in our Black History Month, and Larry is coming bearing gifts, ladies and gentlemen. He has a special performance prepared for us tonight in honor of Black History Month, and I cannot wait to hear him. Well, again, we have a packed show for you tonight, and I don't do what I do when I do it without these guys. So if you all are ready, let's get on with the chat. Hey, Bobby. Hey, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are
you? This little play on colors or something,
Who knew?
Okay. Huh?
Who knew?
Who knew? We didn't, ladies and gentlemen. But truth be told, we have the same stylist. So just want y'all to know. But how you doing tonight, my friend?
You said what? You were saying what?
I said no. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you? I'm glad that it's Friday evening, as you mentioned, and certainly, as you said, we are all mourning the loss of civil rights icon Reverend Jesse Jackson, and we send our condolences to his family. His daughter Santita happened to be a classmate of mine at Howard University, so we send our sincere condolences to the family.
Thank you. And while we have this opportunity, here he is right here, ladies and gentlemen. Sean is not with us tonight, and he can say it himself. Sorry, I could not be a participant in tonight's show. I am feeling much better. I'm glad you said it, Sean, because I didn't want to violate any HIPAA rules. Sean has been under the weather, and he couldn't join us tonight because he's not feeling well. But also, this was his birthday week. So
his birthday.
You all in the chat, if you all can say happy birthday, go ahead and send it in while we say hi to you all who are on here.
Happy
Rick,
birthday.
Thank you for being here. Monica Pleasant, thank you for being here. Michelle Sims, thank you for being here. Dwayne Pureheart from Chicago, thank you for joining us tonight, my brother. And I think I saw earlier, Kendall Fisher is here from Baltimore. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Really appreciate you all being here. So again, Bobby, we got a great show, but we got a chat for y'all that we got to bring you all in on, and we need you all to weigh in because I'm going to go ahead right now and thank a viewer by the name of Craig King. He sent this story to me, and I said, Bobby, we got to talk about this. So tonight we're talking about something that should trouble every parent, every educator, and every taxpayer. At Baltimore's Augusta Fells Savage Institute of Visual Arts, a senior student reportedly earned a 0.13 GPA and still ranked near the top half of his class before being sent back to the 9th grade. And let me let this sink in. This isn't about one student's grades. It's about accountability, and it's about oversight. And it forces us to ask the hard question for our conversation tonight: who failed who?
Ooh, that is the question. As you all know, I am an educator. And so when Alvin brought this to me, I at first I said, I really don't have much to say, but then I thought about it and I had a whole lot to say. So I want to give you guys some context. As Alvin pointed out, it's the Augusta Fells Savage Institute of Visual Arts in West Baltimore, and a senior student there earned only a 0.13 GPA. 0.13 out of a possible 4.0. He received a 0.13 GPA as a result of having passed in 4 years 3 classes. He only passed 3 classes in 4 years, thus the 0.13 grade point average. Yet at one point, even with this grade point average, he was still listed near the top half of his class with a 0.13 GPA. The student wasn't originally going to graduate and was ultimately returned to the 9th grade, as Alvin pointed out. So here's a student who has been passed all these years, gets to the 12th grade, and they then put him back to the 9th grade. So a couple of things, the investigation reporting has showed some systemic problems that existed at the school, including many students at the school have extremely low GPAs. Half of the students have similar failing results. The school continued to advance students through grade levels and allowed progression to courses without required credits or prerequisites. A wider investigation showed irregularities with grades, enrollment reporting, and administrative oversight, leading to broader scrutiny of school management overall. Now, this story drew state-level attention and criticism over academic standards, parental communication, and district oversight.
See, thank you, Bobby. Viewers, for me, this is about, first of all, it's about responsibility. I'm going to ask our producer to put up a question 1 for the viewers. But Bobby, I want to ask you, you know, why did the school allow a student with failing performance to move ahead without meeting graduation requirements? And my second question is, what should, internal accountability look like? Should the school, the staff, the counselors, the administrators, who should be responsible? So my question to the viewers is, who failed this student the most? The student, the parent, the school teachers, or the school district education system? And that's A, B, C, or D. You guys can, talk about that. But Bobby, who do you think failed this student the most, in your opinion?
E, all of the above. I mean, I'm laughing about it, but it is painfully sad that a child could be passed along all these years. How do you become a senior, a 4-year student at a school, and you have a 0.13 GPA? I think the school ultimately bears the responsibility of holding the child accountable. He's a child. Now, I think it's in collaboration. See, someone else, Michelle, she's like, E, all of the above. E is the answer. Look, everybody's going for E.
All of the above. All of the above.
It is a little bit of them all, in all seriousness, because it is a failure of the highest level. And I cannot imagine a superintendent of this district who would not come to that school and pretty much replace everyone. Like there's no justifiable responsibility for this.
Mm-hmm.
None.
Yeah, I have to say I agree with you in this. Everybody should be held responsible. Everybody. And let me say, welcome to the show, Robert, Marco. Welcome to the show. Thank you for responding. Really appreciate you guys being here. Yep, everybody's responsible for that. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to take on the second question that we're talking about as part of the chat, and that revolves around parental awareness and that role that parents play. So the student's mother says that she didn't realize her son was failing until it was too late. Now, I have my own comments on that, but schools should do more outreach and transparent reporting, especially when a student is failing. Or does parental engagement need to be stronger? So our viewer question number 2 is, should the schools be required to alert parents much earlier and more clearly when a student is failing, even if the parent isn't responsive? So we have yes for mandatory alerts, no for parental responsibility, or a shared responsibility. So yes, no, or shared responsibility is what we're asking you, the viewers. But Alvin, your take on that?
Well, I'm very critical when it comes to parents. First of all, raise your child. You had your child. It is, I think, although I think it is a shared responsibility,
yeah.
I am putting some ownership on the parent. You know, how do you not know that your child has a 0.13 GPA? Had you not looked at any of their report cards over 3 years? Had you, what is where's the parent in all this? And ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you all can see this, but I'm like, where's Bobby? But I think that the parent bears a huge responsibility here, although the school is responsible as well for letting this child get to the 12th grade. So, yeah. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking at my screen, but I cannot see. There he is. Okay, there he is.
I have no idea what happened. I just disappeared.
Okay, we're going to say the tech gods are out here. Okay.
All right, I'm back.
Hold on. But before you go, some viewers have weighed in. Sean says it always starts at home. Amen. Yes. Amen. Yes. Amen. Yeah. Rick Irick says yes, meaning it is. That give me a little bit more, Rick, while you out there. Kendall said, I completely echo you, Alvin. Michelle says it starts in the home, the parents. Marco says parents bear large responsibility. Monica said, where's Bobby? Oh,
that's the question. I don't know. Technology was not working for me and it threw me out. But I agree with many of you guys. When Alvin and I were talking about this, I said to him, it is beyond comprehension that a parent could not recognize failure after failure. I mean, because there are multiple semesters in a year. So you have to understand, parents get report cards multiple times in a year. Mm-hmm. And over a course of 4 years, this student apparently passed only 3 classes. Mm-hmm. So it is mind-boggling to me that after that first report card, where there clearly was either all failures or mostly failures, that there wasn't some type of engagement on the part of the parent. So I am baffled as to how a child could go a semester, much less a year, not even to speak multiple years, and the parent not be engaged around the failures that the child was experiencing. So, yeah.
And then going to raise her voice and complain and ask the school, how can you hold him back?
How can you hold him back? Right.
Look in the mirror and ask yourself, why did you hold him back?
I think that's why technology took me out, because I
was because you had a lot to say. All right, okay, we're going to wrap this up with thank you, viewers. We're going to wrap this up with the third question, and we're going to just talk about, the systematic educational failures in all of this. And our question for our viewers is this case an isolated school problem or a sign of a deeper issue in the U.S. public education system? And your choices are A, B, and C. Isolated to one school, reflects broader systemic failure, and C, educational standards need a rest. And while you guys are answering, Bobby, I want to ask you, what does it say about the school where a GPA of a 0.13 can still be in the top half of the class? I'm going to ask you that first.
It is a tragic reality that for some schools, students are allowed to fail at this level. Like at some point, there has to be a question as to why are so many of your students, how is it possible that a child could have a 0.13 GPA and be in the top half of the class? Again, there's so many aspects of this story that are both unbelievable, but mainly just tragic, because in the end, what it says to me is that children that look like you and me continuously get the short end of the educational system in this nation. Continuously. There is no reason for this school to continue to exist under these types of results. None.
Well, you know what? I'm not even going to, I had a third question, but I'm going to let Bobby wrap it up right there because you just said it. I totally agree with everything that you just said. And Ben Pitts, he said for that question, number 3 was, I'm sorry, he said B was his answer. And Marco said B as well. So at the end of the day, you guys, this isn't just about one student or one school. It's about responsibility. A 0.13 GPA doesn't happen overnight. That's years of missed assignments, missed warnings, missed interventions. And in that kind of situation, everybody carries some weight. Yes, the system should have caught it sooner. Yes, the school should have communicated clearly, but let's be honest with this. A student has to show up and do the work. Parents must stay engaged. Hard questions have to be asked, long before the senior year. This young man didn't just fail. He failed himself. The adults around him failed him, and the system failed to stop the slide. So the real question isn't just who's the blame here. It's who's willing to take ownership. What needs to change right now for me, Bobby, as we close, so the next 9th grader who starts slipping doesn't disappear quietly for 4 straight years, because this isn't just about a transcript. It's about accountability at every single possible level.
Absolutely. Here.
Yeah, it's definitely there. Thank you, viewers, for weighing in. Monica said B. Thank you all for weighing in. Well, we have a great show tonight. We have a great show. I am a time-conscious individual, you guys. You all just don't know. And we are rolling. We cannot wait because we want to get as much out of this guest as we possibly can. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So, Bobby, if you're ready, can I go ahead and introduce our special guest tonight?
Let's bring our friend in.
All right. As I said earlier, ladies and gentlemen, in the art of it, we're joined by a multi-hyphenate artist who truly embodies what it means to live a creative life, on stage and behind the scenes. He's a vocalist who's performed from the US to Paris and to St. Petersburg, a costume designer whose work has shaped productions across the DMV, and now the incoming costume director of the Harlem Collective. From voice to vision, from performance to leadership, he's redefining what artistry looks like in real time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guest tonight, Mr. Larry Boggs Jr.
Bam.
Bam.
Thank you, Alvin. Thank you, Bobby. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. How you doing, young man?
I'm doing good. I'm happy it's Friday.
Oh, how about that? Well, you look good. You are shining, okay? And I don't mean just a beautiful skin. You just got the light, okay?
Thank you.
And as our viewers could see, he's lifted a weight or two. You might see that as well.
Now, Ben. Okay, Ben, I know what you mean, Ben, but see, you got some educators. Ben said, thank you for this platform. Great conversation. That's what Ben said. Ben, I love you, Ben. I don't know. I've never met you, Ben, but I love you. But Larry, welcome to the show tonight, as I said. And I'm going to open up a question for our viewers that I know they want to hear, Larry, because you're so multifaceted. For people meeting you for the first time, how do you introduce yourself? Singer, designer, or storyteller?
It's funny you asked that. Generally, I try to stay away from that kind of introduction. I know it's hard because when we're from DC, all of us, and the first question we tend to get asked is, what do you do for work? I try to avoid it at all costs, really, because as you can see, my background is so vast. It's hard to pick one to start with. So what I'll do is kind of listen to who I'm speaking with and see what they do first. So like if they have some sort of corporate job, I'll say I work for the government. If they have a creative type job, I'll tell them something about singing or costuming. But it's hard to, it's hard for me to approach that part first because there's so many answers I could give,
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, that is what true code switching looks like. That's how you do it. Thank you, Larry. Thank you very much.
Larry, you know, we take great pride, Alvin and I, being Washingtonians. And of course, you too are from the DMV, growing up right here in Prince George's County in Clinton, Maryland. And so one of the questions I want to ask you, and, you know, again, we're all DMV boys here. What did growing up in this area give you in terms of creativity? What did it bring about for you?
Well, when I was growing up, it was a time when things were much more colorful, I would say. DC and PG County in particular, in the 90s, fashion was vibrant. I remember cross colors, I remember slouch socks, I remember Timbs, I remember white Air Force Ones. And like what it gave me was the confidence to be myself. Everybody in PG had their own flavor and their own style growing up. And so it was just easy for me to look into finding what I wanted to put out into the world.
Yeah. So when you were young, Larry, walking around here rocking your PG style, your swag, what did you imagine adult life being like for you?
Honestly, I didn't know. As a kid, I tried to do good work. I tried to get good grades. I tried to prepare myself for adulthood. But in those moments, I really just didn't know. Only thing I knew I loved at an early age was music and fashion. So I tried to stay immersed in it, but I had no idea. You know, I thought I wanted to be a doctor at one point, thought I wanted to be an architect. I mean, you have plenty of thoughts as a kid. So growing up, I had plenty to think about, but I didn't know.
What I love is that you dared to dream multiple things. It could have been an architect, it could have been a doctor, you were open to a variety of things. That's a beautiful thing to hear.
Well,
Thank you.
you know, it comes from.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, the way my mom raised me and my sister was she made sure we were in all these different after school programs. So it's almost ingrained in me to want to try different things and do different things. She had us in Boy Scouts, karate, cooking classes, everything, 4-H camp. There was never an evening where you could just chill and watch TV, which I can appreciate now as an adult. But yeah, that's how mom raised me and my sister, was to go out and try many, many different things.
That's great.
I'm going to let me acknowledge someone, Mr. Jarvis Hester. He said, you know, he's so proud of Larry Boggs. The Harlem Collective's wardrobe master is here at the Harlem Collective Opera. Thank you, Jarvis, for being here tonight. Appreciate you showing up for your colleague. Okay, thank you. I real quick before I go to the next question, I couldn't find a picture, but I met Larry years ago. He did a fashion show for me on the rooftop of a building in downtown DC. And we kind of talked about it off camera today. And Larry, I tried to find a picture. I know I got those pictures in here somewhere, but I couldn't find it. So, you know, shame on me. But I definitely want to acknowledge that. And Jarvis had something else to say before I go on that I want to pull up. He said, follow his journey on the road to the Apollo Victoria here in Harlem. Subscribe to Mood Magazine, our official playbill, www.moodmagazineinnyc.org. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Jarvis. I appreciate that. So, Larry, I want to ask you, you know, about, you know, you went to, this is wild. You went to an HBCU and a school that wasn't an HBCU. You studied at Morgan State and NYU. How did those two spaces shape you differently?
Well, they were dramatically different, just as you stated, one being an HBCU and the other a PWI. So I really thoroughly enjoyed Morgan State University just because I was amongst greatness that entire time. It's funny how I ended up graduating with a degree in music from there, because that's not how it started. I got a chemical engineering scholarship to go to Morgan State first. And I knew I still loved music, just like I told you guys before. So I had joined the choir just as an elective credit. I was in choir maybe 2 Wednesdays. The choir had rehearsal on Wednesdays. By the second rehearsal, I had dropped my chemical engineering major. I had gotten a music scholarship, and I had switched my major to music that moment. It was so impactful and powerful for me that it wasn't 4 years, it was 3.5. I graduated early, but it was those 4 years that impacted me the most out of my whole life. I thoroughly enjoyed that experience because I just can recall so many other excellent, creative, talented people that I was able to rub shoulders with. It was just an honor to be next to such greatness, not only amongst my peers and colleagues, but the professors that were there really helped give us what we needed to succeed. So Morgan State will always be home. When I went to NYU, it was different just because, it's grad school, so you're more of an adult, but it was also not an HBCU, and it was also in a huge city. So by the time I got to NYU, I wasn't thinking about school. The truth be told, the only reason I went to NYU was so I could be in New York City, so I could try to become a model. So I did, I went and got my degree and I was doing my work, but the whole point was I wanted to see, could I make it? So I went and got an agent, and long story short, it worked out. I became a successful model. I did what I wanted to do. I got my graduate degree and then I left. So they were two very different experiences that I wouldn't trade for the world. I made some really good friends in New York as well. So yeah, I mean, the two were different, but monumental for me.
So you mentioned your modeling career, Larry. Who are your fashion influences? Give us some of them.
Well, it's funny you ask that because I don't actually look at many of the fashion designers in a sense. I'm more interested in like the costume designers. I like clothes. I wear them. It's fine. But I'm really more into the magical, the imaginative. You know what I mean? I don't want to create anything that's normal, like ready to wear. So for my influences, of course, it's like Ruth E. Carter, of course, who made the costumes for Black Panther and got the Academy Award for it. So she's definitely on my list as top tier. Also, Paul Tazwell, of course, he did the Wicked movie and all of the costumes for them. So they're my top two favorites, not only because they're Black creatives, but they did two really good, excellent movies. So.
Absolutely. I'd love their work in both of those movies, in both of them. So you mentioned the fact that your mother exposed you and your sister to a variety of different things. So I don't get the sense that there was pressure to pick one thing early on your part of your mother by any stretch based upon that level of exposure. But how did you ultimately then choose the direction, the path that you were going to choose?
The first thing that came to mind was a quote from this song, and it just goes, use your heart and not your mind. So as I was being placed in these different experiences, your heart can tell you where you actually belong. There were some that my mom put me into that I absolutely hated. We talk about it to this day. I appreciate the experience, but my heart wasn't there. And so when I would get to the places where I could sing something or there was some music involved, I could feel my heart align with that. And so I knew like, well, should I become a singer? Or I don't know. You start having those thoughts because you can feel your body fuse with that task, and you could tell like that's in you as opposed to some of the other things. So I don't know. I just used my heart as guidance, and I tried to use my brain some because you do have to make a living. But that was the goal, to try to follow my heart as far as I was unafraid to.
And have you always felt comfortable with the multiple paths?
No. To be honest, it is something that took me up maybe until this point to appreciate. Beforehand, it felt disjointed. It felt almost like unreal is a better way to put it, because now it feels wonderful to have so much under my belt. But as I was taking on each new task, it kind of felt like, how come my life is not linear like most people's? And how come I'm interested in so many different things? Like I never feel settled in one thing. I would beat myself up for wanting to experience something else, when really now all of those different experiences are how I got in this position that I'm in now. So I can appreciate it. But when I was going through it and figuring life out, it felt disconnected, and it felt like I would never find home.
There's some viewers who have weighed in, but I want to ask you first, are you a Gemini by any stretch of the imagination? Do you happen to be a Gemini? And if you are, I'll do a backflip off the screen. But are you what's your sign, Larry?
I'm not a Gemini, but close.
Okay.
I'm a Cancer, and I'm on the cusp between Cancer and Leo. So it causes a lot of personality shifts.
Well, I won't give anything away about my life, but I know about cancers. Let me say that. But Marco May said that he gave you a compliment here. He said, and your plant daddy techniques are amazing. That dang blender for that banana pudding is impressive also. All right, so you got a follower on here. All right, Marco. and hey, welcome back, Charlie's Angels. How you doing? Charlie's Angels said, hi, Larry. Because you have such a deep passion for music and fashion, do you ever design with a soundtrack in mind? We might have to ask Charlie's Angels to come on and be a host on the show. What you think? Okay, that's a great question. Mm-hmm.
It's funny you asked that. I usually don't associate any sound with any of my other work, just because being a musician, it has kind of turned my brain into a synthesizer for all music. It's almost like it's not relaxing or leisurely anymore. So it's really there's no soundtrack to when I'm working on something creative in terms of designing, because I need like a clear head. And a lot of times if you play music, I'm going to tune into the technique of that or the sound of that, or, to begin to listen to that in a academic kind of way, as opposed to leisurely. So no, there's never really a soundtrack. I'm usually designing with background noise.
It's interesting you should say that, because it kind of leads me to the next question of the fact that, as a professional singer and a costume designer, the question as to whether or not in some way do they ever feed one another?
Absolutely. The only way I got into costume designing was because I was a singer and I was in close proximity to directors and people who knew I had the musical ability, but they also would check my own personal style, and then they learned that I can do these other things. So I think it's very helpful to be a performer first and apply some of that knowledge to when you're creating costumes. So like, for instance, when people are having to dance across the stage, I need to be able to design a costume with that kind of thing in mind. Or like if we're doing an opera and you have these long phrases and I need you to be able to breathe in this costume I make for you, I need to be conscientious of what it's created out of and how you'll be able to function in what I create. So I think it's a disservice in some ways for people who don't have any performance background to be creating for performers.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you talking about your approach and so forth. And it leads me to the question of asking you, is there a difference in your approach to designing a show versus the approach that you may have in learning a lead role?
Absolutely. When I'm designing a show, when I'm designing the costumes for a show, it's more like a global approach. I see it, the big picture first, and then I kind of narrow it down to the individual characters and their different tracks. Mm-hmm. If I'm studying for a role, it generally is the total opposite. I'm seeing how I merge with that character. I'm learning my lines. I'm seeing how my lines fit with the other people's lines. I'm seeing how all of our lines fit with the stage. And then, it gets broader in that aspect. So I think I approach things oppositely. As the costume designer, you have to be, you're designing for everybody in the cast too. So I generally would never approach it the way I would a singing role.
Well, Charlie's Angels has another question for you, and which I think is another beautiful question. How do you know when it's your heart speaking versus fear or doubt?
That's hard to put into words because it is absolutely a feeling, but it's almost like when you're playing putt-putt golf and based on how you hit the ball that it's going to sink into that hole. It's that confidence and that's that assuredness. Like once you're in this activity, you can feel your body like hole in one. You can feel it connect and it'll say to you, it's there's not words, but you know what I mean? Your body will tell you that is the place that you belong. Because you know the opposite. When you get someplace and you don't belong. So imagine the opposite. It's hard to explain what that does feel like. What it doesn't feel like is when you felt out of place. It doesn't feel like that. You feel perfectly where you belong. It's how that feels.
Centered.
Right.
Centered.
At ease.
At ease.
Perfectly where you belong. I love it.
Right.
Well, Larry, because, ladies and gentlemen, I did tell you all earlier that Larry came bearing gifts But before he shares his gift with all of us, I have this question, Larry. What was your favorite singing role so far, and why would you say that particular performance?
That one is probably a toss-up. One of my favorite roles was playing Javert in Les Mis. I did it with the Arlington Symphony Orchestra. It was a one-night only performance, but it was fully staged, fully costumed, and all that. I really enjoyed that role just because I got to play somebody totally different from me. If you guys have seen the play or seen the movie, Javert is the military guy who's pretty stern, and he ends up a bad guy pretty much, right? And nothing about me screams stern, military, or bad guy. But I got to play that part, and it was just so fulfilling and rewarding to kind of step into some new shoes and to do it well, because it got rave reviews. It was in the newspapers and they talked all good about it. So I was happy with that. But it's kind of like a tie. So one of my other favorite roles is I worked on a cruise ship. I had a 9-month contract. I was singing on the cruise ship, and that was like the longest vacation of life in the best way. Like, you're getting paid to travel the world. We were all in Brazil and Argentina, and all you had to do was sing. So that was my other favorite, and it's a toss up between the two.
You're gonna make me want to become a singer. Okay, see, as bad as I need to travel right now. Oh my God.
Well, was just talking about getting some sun.
Huh?
I said you were just talking about the need to get some sun. So
I need some sun bad. I really do. But Larry, before we talk about how you design for other performers, I think that we need to experience you as the performer. So, ladies and gentlemen, performing tonight right here live on He Said, He Said, He Said, here is the voice behind the vision singing for Black History Month, Deep River. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Boggs Jr.
Deep river, my home is over Jordan. Deep river, Lord, I wanna cross over into campground. Deep river, my home is over Jordan. Deep river, Lord, I wanna cross over into campground. Oh, don't you want to go to that gospel feast that promised land where all is peace. Deep river, Lord, I wanna cross over into campground.
Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Boggs Jr. You know what?
Come on,
You can't put any more feathers in my cap. Okay, you just can't. You just can't. Thank you very much. Thank
Larry,
you.
I hope you can see how the viewers are responding. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And powerful.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. So, and standing in such a moment as that, performing, standing on that stage in all that brilliance and so forth, you did mention in some ways performing allows you to have a sense of designing for other characters. How does standing in that moment and performing in that way impact that creativity that flows into other costumes for other characters?
Well, we kind of touched on it before. I have an awareness and a knowledge and a training in music and in voice and a little bit in dance too. So it lends itself to all my costume designing. I'm paying attention to all of the mechanics of the body, all of the mechanics of breath, movement, all of that influence my design. And I often work closely with the choreographers to make sure like the shoes that I choose and the thing, like the creative choices I want to make are a collaboration so that, you know, you can maximize your ability as well, not just look good because it's what I want you to wear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know firsthand. Absolutely. So what was the first thing that kind of led you to costume design?
Well, it's because a friend of mine from undergrad who had seen all the wild clothes that I have and all of the different ways that I express myself, like through clothing, he reached out a couple years after graduation and was like, listen, I have a show that I'm doing. I know you've never costume designed for a theater before, but I want you to give this a try. And I was like, I'm down. And that was how the first one happened. I never dreamed of really being a costume designer, especially for theaters. I always have just wanted to have my own personal flair. So I learned how to sew at a young age just so I could tailor clothing and so I could, you know, embellish the things that I already own. I never thought of costume designing. Someone asked me, actually, Kevin McAllister, one of my really good friends, one of the co-founders of ArtsCentric, he asked, and I say, yeah, and the rest is history.
And history it is.
And history it is right here on He Said.
That's right.
right here. Larry, you kind of almost answered this question, but I want to ask it in this way. How do you balance creativity with storytelling, making something beautiful and truthful?
Well, I think the story and the truth behind it is what drives it. Being merely creative and beautiful will not really cut it, especially when you're talking theater. There's already a story that you have to align with. So, I mean, you got to have one before the other. And I think truth will always influence you correctly, not only in life, but on the stage as well. So, for instance, like I'm working on a soldier's play with ArtsCentric. It'll open in a month, but it's a World War II story about some army soldiers. And basically the truth that I'm going to infuse into this is looking into the research of the World War II uniforms from the Army and making sure that what I put them in is as close to exact and true as possible. But that's with every production I do. The first thing is to find out what's the most authentic way to represent what I'm reading in the script. So I think truth leads to you creating something beautiful, but not the other way around.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you, Larry. I need you to go. I want you to close your eyes and go deep on this one because I want to know your gut feeling on this.
Okay.
Is there a design that you've done where you thought, this is exactly why I do this work?
Mm-hmm. I talk about it all the time. They probably get sick of hearing me say this, but my favorite production that I designed was Cinderella. It was for ArtsCentric. It was 2 Decembers ago. There were 18 members in the cast. My friend that I mentioned earlier, Kevin, had came up with a concept that we would do Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, but with an African take. So Cedric, the musical director, he changed all the music and gave it like an African flair. And my job was to present this now with all African garments. So I had a ball. We had a wonderful budget. I had a great time. I was buying things from Malawi, Africa. I was shopping in Northeast DC. I was mixing patterns. I was finding kente cloth. But one of my favorite parts that made me really feel like, ooh, I could really, like, you got to pay me good now. I'm really good at this. I created her magic dress. And between the magic dress and the wedding dress at the end, I can't figure out which one was my favorite. But by the end of the show, I was like, that's official. You got to put some respect on that now. Now, it was scary, too, because that magic dress failed every single time up until the first preview with an audience. So I was so nervous. I got scared to death. I even went up to Kevin, the director, and I said, I need you to give me the number to the other theater companies. I got to borrow a magic dress. This is not work. I was going to abandon the whole thing. But anyway, we tried it. Well, he never gave up on me. He had faith. He was like, we're going to put that dress on for the first preview. And thank God everything went well, right? So thank you for trusting me, Kevin. But it was wild. It was scary. And once it was completed, though, I felt so accomplished. And I felt like I really did good work. So I don't know. That's my favorite production, not only for the different dresses there, but there was 18 people in the cast, and every scene they looked wonderful. You can look at the reviews. I'm not just saying that.
What I love is just seeing you light up. Like when you started talking about it, your energy just shifted. You just lit up, and that is so wonderful to witness. Now, you've also recently been named costume director at the Harlem Collective. Tell us a little bit. What did that mean to you to get that appointment to be named the costume director? And tell us a little bit about the role. What does it entail for you?
Well, it was quite exciting. As you probably saw from one of the comments below, Jarvis Ricardo Hester is the CEO and founder and pastor for the Harlem Collective. And the way he found me, I was so humbled by this experience. He had reached out on Instagram. And it was right at a time where I had made a conscious effort to say, I'm going to put more of the stuff I do out just to see, just to put it out. Who knows what may happen? But in order you kind of need a business card as well. So I figured if you record all these things you do, at least you'd have something to show when you're trying to get new jobs. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it worked out just that way. Jarvis reached out on Instagram. He said, I'm looking for a costume designer. It appears that's what you do. I do this, and that. And he gave me the whole rundown of the Harlem Collective, which is basically 3 performing groups. The Harlem Opera Collective, which is an opera performing group. You got the Harlem Boys Choir, which is kind of like revamping the old version that you may have already heard of, but we're bringing it back in a new, refreshed kind of way. And then we have a chamber orchestra as well. So there'll be 3 performing groups, and I'm responsible for all their uniforms, all their costumes when they do stage shows, and any of their special appearances rather. And we do have one coming up, Memorial Day in DC. So you will see some of my designs on TV. We have a couple stage productions as well coming up. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, just go to moodmagazinenyc.org, as you saw in the comments, or you can go to harlemcollective.org. But it's super exciting. He reached out, told me this great news about these different groups that he's putting together. We are about to get a new building too, the Apollo building. So some exciting things are happening. I'm really humbled and honored to have been asked. The team of collectives that will help run this organization is quite amazing. I can't wait to really get into the meat and potatoes of our design efforts. So he's actually on the call, but you guys saw some comments from him.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Oh.
we're both really excited to be working together.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I cannot, first of all, and I'll circle back to this before I leave, because I want to stay connected to you and Jarvis, because I'm in Harlem a lot. And I want to make sure that I create a platform for you all, if there's any way possible that I can be of assistance to making sure that we get the word out and do what needs to be done. He said is the platform for it. So thank you guys. So Larry, Larry and I come from a similar place, and you said that you're also a federal government employee. How do you balance that world with the creative one that you have all around you?
Thankfully, I've been blessed to have good people in my corner and good people surrounding me, even at work. So I have the best boss in the world. He's very cool. My work gets done well. I pride myself on doing good work. And so he doesn't bother me as long as the work is done. I have a great schedule. I have great hours. My work-life balance is good. So all I can say is I'm happy. They don't have to worry about me, you know. But my federal government job is wonderful, and the people I work with are good. It allows me the freedom and the time to do some other creative things too. So happy.
Blessing.
Thank you. All right. Well, we're about to drive it home, because we've had you exactly where we wanted you tonight, Larry. So, Bobby.
Well, I'm very excited. I'm going to go to those websites and look at some of those outfits, and you got to let us know when those outfits are going to be on television, because I want to see those as well. But my question now is, thinking with that creative hat on, if you could design the next chapter of your life like a costume, what would it look like?
It would look lush. It would look rich. It would look lavish.
It's rich. I love it.
I'm in this era of my life where a lot of the things I have dreamed of are starting to come to fruition really easily for me. So, I'm using the terms happy and thankful, but that's just really the place I'm in, a state of gratitude, because people have asked me to do things I want to do and that are fun to me and that are creative. And it doesn't feel like there needed to have been much effort. It's just about honing your craft and then being present and being available when it's time. So I don't know if it's luck or being blessed or manifestation, but I'll take any one of them. I just feel in a moment that things are pouring on me and I appreciate it. So I'm gonna do good work for everybody who's asked me to. I can't wait to show y'all.
Sounds blessed to me.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say. You're a Gemini. You can deny it all day long. But we're going to.
I know when I was
born. Before I ask my last question, I'm going to give the floor to Charlie's Angels, because I do like his question for you, and it kind of leads into the closing. He says, as a director, what story are you most passionate about telling in the new chapter? And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. That's a good question. I think the story I'm trying to tell in the next season of my life is to dream big. I think the story I'm going to tell with the actions and the creations that I produce is that there are no limits to anything. And so I want to, whatever the next things that I do, I hope that they show expansion, growth, magic. I want things to get real big. And I think that's the story I want to tell, how big it can get.
I have no doubt that you will achieve every single thing that you just said. And when people look at your career one day, Larry, what do you hope they say you contributed to the culture?
When people look at my career, I hope by the end of it that specifically our culture has felt seen, felt represented, and felt understood. I want to make sure our community specifically feels those things. So I don't know if there's anything I want to specifically give to the culture, but I hope by the end of it that they felt seen.
Okay, well, first of all, let me just say thank you, Larry, for being here tonight and giving us your time. You know, the moment I saw you post that you had been selected as the costume designer for the Harlem Collective, I think I was tearing through my DMs trying to find a way to get in touch with you. So thank you for answering the call and for being here and joining us tonight. From voice to vision, from performer to designer, Larry, your journey shows us that art isn't just what you do, it's who you become. And I just appreciate you shining so bright on our platform tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin. Thank you, Bobby. It's been a pleasure.
Well, we're not going to let you go. You're here for the closing tonight. So,
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen, next week, to close out Black History Month, you've seen this gentleman on on CNN, MSNBC. You've seen him. Our title of the show next week is Immigration, Deportation, and the Law, Separating Fact, Fear, and Freedom, with Alan Orr, founder of Orr Immigration Law Firm. Alan is with us next week. He's been here before. He's coming back. And so if you saw him the first time, we have him for a whole show. So you know how brilliant he is. And so he will be back with us to lay it down. And our words of the week, thanks to Bobby: don't let small minds convince you that your dreams are too big. And I think that's so appropriate for this show tonight. So,
yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, viewers, for showing up tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate it. And on a final note, we're not doing anything really big for it, but next week we will be celebrating 5 years of when we started doing this show. And so, again, last year, I don't know where last year went, but anyway, we'll be celebrating 5 years that we first came on and said, hey, look, let's try this out. So here we are 5 years later, thanks to you all. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to go to our YouTube page and subscribe so you can see this whole show with Larry and special clips. All right. So anyway, have a wonderful weekend. And until next week, and we will see you on a new live episode of He Said.
He said.
He said.
There you have it. Okay. Thank you. Sean, get better.
Feel better, Sean.
Get better. And we will see you all next week. Out.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank
you,
y'all.
Larry.